Watching Reality Check.
And this is Reality Check.
My name is Christine Sayo. I'm the founder of Let's Do It Kenya,
My name is Oscar Wanzala. I'm the country coordinator for Let's Do It Kenya,
which is an organization that creates awareness on environmental issues.
for young people that coordinates World Cleanup Day activities.
Our flagship project, World Cleanup Day, has drawn a lot of attention, and it happens every third Saturday of September. Why I chose on environment? It's because when you look at everything that's affecting us, somehow you can link it to environmental matters. For example, when you look at COVID, there's a connection. You remember when COVID started, people started these memes of nature is breathing. Yes, it was funny, but when you examine those memes critically, you realize there was some truth in it. Like, nature is the basis, environment is the basis of everything we do. And if we don't, as the current generation, if we don't take care of the environment right now, our children and our children's children, whatever we are handing over to them will be chaotic. So that's why environment. So in terms of the initiatives we're involved in as Let's Do It Kenya, we have a number. The first one being the brand audit. The brand audit, basically what that means is auditing garbage collected at cleanups to determine what brands are bringing in most trash. So for example, once we do a cleanup, then we sort out and say these are the plastic bottles and which company is bringing in these plastic bottles. And then these are cigarette butts. If they're labeled, again, what company is it? Safari, is it Coca-Cola, is it Nestle? So, and then collecting this data so that we use it to put the manufacturers at task, because oftentimes we say environmental responsibility starts with you. But what if we flipped the coin and put the manufacturers or whoever is producing these polluters to task? Another initiative we have is what we call digital trash mapping. So here we have an app on the App Store called Trash Out. You can check it out. It's available on iOS and Android. And this app allows users to map trash. By mapping, I mean if you're walking along, say, Githurai, and you spot garbage, you take a photo of it and you post it on the app. And we who have access to the back end then can access that data and know where to clean up or which places need urgent cleanup. Why? Is because we realized many companies that are doing CSR were concentrating on certain areas at the expense of others. So everybody is coming to clean, say, Kibra, but forgetting we have other areas that need attention. So this data helps to direct people who need to do cleanups to know where to clean. The other reason why we do that is because, again, data is a powerful tool. So if we have that data, it's easier to put governments to task and say, Kibra is not the dirtiest, Langata is the dirtiest area. So things like that. Then the third initiative we have is Let's Do It Kenya is something we call cigarette butt littering. So we call the campaign Bin the Butts. Bin the Butts is born out of the first initiative of brand auditing, where we realized we were having a lot of garbage that was cigarette litter. It was among the top polluters since 2018. So we used to have plastic bottles, cigarette butts, and then last year we saw masks also really emerging as one of the top types of litter we were collecting.
Since we've organized various cleanups, across the country, from Nairobi, Mombasa, Eldoret, and other parts of the country. And most of the time when you're doing the cleanups, you realize that cigarette butt, or what most people call filter, is very prevalent. You'll find in most of the cleanups that you organize, apart from the plastic bottles, from masks that people find and other waste, you find that cigarette butts litter is most prevalent. You'll find in most occasions that we clean up, you'll find that it occurs many times. And we were thinking around this problem and how to provide a solution for it.
But since 2018, cigarette butts have consistently been among the top polluters from the data we collect. So we've been thinking through, like, what's the solution? And so we snooped around, we reached out to partners we work with, we reached out to communities, and we happened to stumble on a partner from Sweden called TrashPockets. So TrashPockets is this kamfuko, and basically what it is, it's a pocket that allows you to not litter the environment with your cigarette butt.
Small that it fits in your pocket, and it's odorless, it is fireproof, and it is waterproof, that someone can, after they have smoked, instead of throwing the litter on the ground, they can put the cigarette butt on the pocket ashtray and dispose it at the right places. You'll notice that on the effect of cigarette butt, and what we're running this campaign to just speak to people, you'll, the reasons why we are doing this is because a lot of people first do not understand that cigarette butt is a form of plastic. It is a plastic that takes a lot of time to decompose. For instance, some research that people have done, it shows that it takes about 2 years for only 38% of a cigarette butt to decompose. That's 2 years and less than 50% of it has decomposed. These cigarette butts, when they are thrown on the ground, they end up being blown by the wind, or when it rains, they end up going to the rivers, and finally in the end in the oceans and lakes and water bodies. And when they end up in these water bodies, they pollute the environment, and they kill the aquatic animals. Fish end up dying because the cigarette butts are very toxic. I just saw somewhere a research that showed that actually one cigarette butt has the potential of polluting about 500 liters of water. You can imagine a situation in this country with more than 3 million smokers. If you have 3 million cigarette butts and they end up in an ocean, how many liters of water will be polluted in that instance? That's why we're providing this solution to prevent people from throwing cigarette butts on the ground and it ending up polluting water bodies.
In terms of reaching out to the community, we realized that yes, this is a good solution, but as I mentioned earlier, people assume the cigarette butt is such a tiny thing that they don't see it as a problem. So what we have done, like today we had a community sensitization forum that brought together over 50 community members from around Githurai, Kiambu and Nairobi, where we had a dialogue and an engagement on cigarette butts, what they thought. And part of the feedback we were receiving was, I didn't know this was a problem, or I didn't know cigarettes, can do this, or they are this dangerous, cigarette butts. So we are planning to have such similar dialogues, and from those dialogues we are also learning a lot, because this is the first time the TrashPocket is being launched or being used in the world. So we are also learning a lot of feedback on how to make this better for the smoker themselves. So the community forums will continue. We have just finished the Githurai Nairobi area one. We are moving next to Mombasa.
We've planned an activity which will be a sensitization program, just to create awareness to people living around the coast, and our groups and volunteers there, so that they can speak to people, and we organize the collection of cigarette butts and distribution of this trash pocket so that people can stop littering on the beaches. You'll notice that a lot of people, when they go even for holidays at the beach, people will smoke, and since they can't find an ideal place to throw the cigarette butt, they end up throwing them on the beach, and then they're being carried away by the water. They end up in the ocean. Then when fish and other aquatic animals eat the cigarette filters, they end up dying because of the toxins that are emitted by the cigarette.
And then from Mombasa, we will move to Nanyuki. With Nanyuki, we will have another communities forum. Again, same process. And then we have also identified a town in Western Kenya that is known to have the highest percentage of mad people because of smoking certain things. That is Luanda, which is my hometown. So I'm speaking from experience. So that's one of the towns, again, we will have a dialogue and just with the community members, raise awareness on this, because at the core of everything, whoever is throwing this cigarette butt, it's an individual. So if you can start making this individual aware, then they'll, even if without the trash pocket, before they litter with the cigarette butt, it will be at the back of their mind, this is wrong. So raising that awareness and putting it in people's minds that cigarette butts are a huge litter problem. So for now, we are distributing the pocket ashtrays for free because we managed to get someone who could finance the production. Because we realized in our dialogues and in our preparations for this launch that people don't know that cigarette butts are a problem. And so selling a solution to a problem that is not in people's mind was going to be a hard task, an uphill task. So for us, we decided let's use this opportunity to raise awareness on the problem and present a solution, a probable solution. If this then becomes, not if this becomes, so with time then we can see how to approach maybe hotels or bigger financiers to help us get the next big tranche. We have only a few pieces for our pilot and marketing, hoping that this sensitization and the need that comes from it can become the basis for us to fundraise for more.
You know, the next frontier, especially in this country, we've been dealing with. We are proud of the sustained efforts to ban the use of single-use plastic, the carrier bags especially, thanks to NEMA and all the enforcement agencies. And we think the next frontier in terms of plastic that causes a lot of harm because of the toxins that it emits on the environment will be this, the campaign on cigarette butts. We think that the impact is going to be great because we want to reach out to all smokers across the country so that they become aware of the effect that, that their actions take on the environment. If all the smokers, for instance, stop throwing the cigarette butts on the ground or on the beaches or on the parks, we'll have an effect that, a net effect that will not have a cigarette butts litter on the environment, and they do not end up in the oceans, and we'll have cleaner waters and healthier animals in the oceans.
So at Let's Do It Kenya, I'm not alone. I work with a team of around 7 who are part of the leadership. And then there's a bigger team of volunteers who are in thousands. So like when we call for World Cleanup Day, anybody who turns up, we consider them our volunteer. So like in 2018, we had 25,000 volunteers turn up. In 2019, the same number, 25,000 plus. In 2020, because of Corona, we only had 7,000. So I would say that's part of our network or volunteers or team that we work with. But in terms of like the staff, we are volunteers, all of us, and we're a team of 7. So I am the founder. I act in terms of giving guidance to the organization and partly fundraising, but then we have a country coordinator who does the day-to-day running of the organization. We also have someone who's in charge of communications, who manages all our social media, everything we do out here. And then we have someone who's in charge of partnerships, whose work is just to snoop around for what partner can we work with. And then we have someone who's in charge of mobilization, so helping us reach as many people as possible in schools, in government, and everywhere. And then those are 4. And then we have, all of these people have like vice people to assist them. Since we are volunteers and we still have bills to pay, we do this on part-time. So each of us has like an assistant to step in whenever someone needs to, a break or something.
Well, I'll say the environment is our responsibility. And a cleaner and healthy environment will mean that we both live a healthy life. So I'd like us to join hands together. Every person has to take personal responsibility towards the environment, from the use of single-use plastics and throwing bottles on the environment, you know, anywhere, disposing waste from places that are not supposed to be disposed, and disposing cigarette butts anyhowly. We need to work together to ensure that we throw waste in the right places so that our environment can be clean.
My final message would be to 3 groups of people. The first group is manufacturers of things that cause environmental pollution. So I'm talking about cigarettes, I'm talking about plastic bottles. Let us also be creative and innovative and care for the environment so that we are packaging our products or putting out things in nature that do not harm nature. And then to, I would say, smokers and people who use plastic bottles, let us think twice. Let us think twice about what we are doing. And then to just anybody watching, Our future generations are relying on us to hand over a better environment. So let's do our best to keep the environment clean.
Yeah, I think the smokers, they need to embrace the trash pockets because it makes their lives actually easier. You find that a lot of smokers struggle to find a place, ideal place to even smoke or throw the cigarette butt. You'll find a lot of hotels right now and restaurants have designated smoking joints that they put some ashtray that people could smoke in those places. So that means if they're anywhere else, they don't have a place to do that. If you're in a park, for instance, or you are out on your jog or something like that, and you want to have a smoke, you risk if you smoke and throw the cigarette butt on the ground, maybe it can even cause forest fire and all that. So it is something that cigarette smokers need to embrace, because it gives them the convenience that after they smoke, they have a good way to dispose their cigarette butt.
So in terms of how to contact us should you need a trash pocket, there are two ways. We have a website, www.letsdoitkenya.org, where you can find our contact section that has all our contacts. But should you also feel the need to email us, you can email us on info@letsdoitkenya.org. We are also very much active on our social media. So we have a Twitter that is @letsdoitkenya, an Instagram that is also @letsdoitkenya, and a Facebook page, same name. We're also available on TikTok. So all these platforms, you can send us a DM and somebody will get in touch as soon as possible.